Hi, my name is John Snyder. I'm with Stauffers of Kissel Hill Garden Centers. Today I'd like to take a little bit of time to talk to you about tips for picking out your fresh cut Christmas tree this year, and also some tips on how to keep it fresh for the entire holiday season. So let me first talk about the main different kinds of trees that you're going to find when you go out to choose your tree. On my right is the Fraser fir, on my left is the Douglas fir, and behind me is the concolor fir. These two here, the Douglas fir and the Fraser fir, are going to be the most common. You're going to find them everywhere. Concolor fir is a little bit different. We'll talk about that one in a little bit. Let's start with the Douglas fir over here. This is going to be your traditional Christmas tree. It's got the green look, the medium-sized needles, very full-looking tree. The Fraser fir on my right is going to be a little bit shorter needle, a little bit more open space to it, and this bluish texture, especially on the underside of the branches. Now, that's the main difference between these two, the fullness and the length of the needles. As far as needle retention goes, they're both going to be pretty equal, with maybe the Fraser fir holding a slight edge. What you want to think about when you're picking your tree is what kind of ornaments you have also. Since the Fraser fir has this little bit more of a layering look to it, larger ornaments tend to sit in there a little bit nicer. Where on the Douglas, since it stays so full, it's a little harder to get them in there. Also, the branches on the Fraser fir are a little bit stiffer, and so they'll hold those heavy ornaments better than the Douglas fir will, which will tend to come down. Both of these trees, and any tree really for that matter, when you first take it into the house, the branches are going to come down some. So when you're looking at it in the store, in the shop where you're picking your tree, those branches are going to be a little bit more on an angle. Try to imagine them pushed down flat too. That's when you're really going to start seeing that layering come through on the Fraser fir. Now, I did say there was a third kind, like I said, the concolor fir here. This one has a much longer needle. It's a softer bluish texture and color to it. The main quality on the concolor fir is it's got a really good fragrance. And if you find some out there, don't be afraid to pull a couple of needles off, break them up a little bit and smell it. It smells just like oranges actually. So this one's going to get you the most fragrance. They usually are a little bit rounder instead of the narrow upright, so if you don't have a lot of room to work with, this might not work for you. But it will also have that kind of layering like the Fraser fir. So that's the main difference between the different kinds of trees. Now, what are you looking for when you pick between one of these? How do you know it's a fresh tree? Very easy. The easiest thing to do, just take your hand, reach in there, grab some branches, and just pull out. And then look to see if there's any needles on your hand. If you're not pulling any needles off, that's a fresh tree. It's going to hold its needles really well. The other thing that you want to do is always get a fresh cut put on the tree. After these things are cut in the field and taken to the store, the sap is starting to harden around the trunk of the tree. So if you don't put a fresh cut on, that sap will actually stop the water from going up through to keep the tree fresh. If you're not going to be putting it up right away, you're going to need to have a fresh cut put on it. You want to do it as soon as you can from when you put the tree in the stand and put it up with water. If you pick a tree on a Tuesday and then put it up on a Friday, it's going to need another fresh cut put on it before you stand it up. So try to get it stood up as soon as you get that fresh cut on there, and then watch that water, because it will take up 90% of the water that it's going to within the first couple hours after you fresh cut it. So it might need refilled a couple times in that first day. If it stops taking up water, it's not a huge problem. That just means it's got plenty of moisture up in there. This has been John Snyder with Stauffers of Kissel Hill Garden Centers. Thank you for watching.